Hello and vanakkam. This is Tachu and you are listening to the Sip On It podcast. Before we start off, please follow me on Instagram and on YouTube. I upload the Sunday episodes as videos where I talk while I paint. With that done, let's get into today's episode. I think I made a reel about this a few weeks back, but I figured that this warrants a whole episode because we are just intense like that. We are going to talk about 5 things that mattered in high school that simply don't matter now. Number 1. You're not going to figure life out. Adults are just as confused. We're just better at hiding it now. Back in the day, I thought when I became an adult, things would change. You see, I was made to believe that adulthood will come out of nowhere. I associated adulthood with having a job and financial independence. While it was technically adulthood, it did not happen suddenly. It was gradual, right from when we entered college. I have had a belly since I was in 3rd standard. I assumed that it will magically go as I age. Because that's what happens, right? Every caterpillar becomes a butterfly eventually, sooner or later. But no, not in our case. I used to like a lot of things as a child and even as an adolescent. And the thing is, I was constantly told and made to believe that I will grow out of it or I will let go of the habit. That included reading horror books, watching horror movies, writing, and even art for that matter. And here we are, 30 years old, binge reading books and writing 2 episodes every week. We don't know what being an adult should feel like. When I think of having a child, my first thought is always, naane oru kolandha. This thing comes into my head because my likes and dislikes are invalidated in my childhood as something only kids would do. Since I'm continuing all those practices even today, it feels like I haven't come out of that part of life as well. I have come to figure out that this is also the reason why I felt so lost in my 20s because I thought I was the odd one out. I was borderline ashamed to be doing things that I used to do in school. No one told me that I can be an adult while keeping my inner child alive and well fed. Now that I am 30, I am mighty sure that there are people who are going about saying I will change once I have a kid. Well, leave me and my obsessions alone. The second one, going up the ladder. இப்படி இருந்தா நீ எப்படி முன்னேறுவ? We have always been taught to go up the ladder. Corporate ladder, property ladder, basically any ladder. But no one told us that the only other direction a ladder can go is down. What I wish I had known is the importance of being in the present. There is a quote in the show Office. I wish there was a way to know you are in the good old days before you actually left them. You would only know this if you are in the present. The thing about being in the present and cherishing the moment is that it will give you room to move sideways as well. Sitting on a sofa, drinking a cup of tea and watching the twilight hit your room, for a moment, that is not the corporate ladder. There is just you, the cup of tea, and the wonderful golden sun. I wish someone had taught me to absorb the present and make a mental record of the day. Even now, if you ask me about the best times of last year, it will be moments like this where it was just me and myself, being grateful and soaking in the now. While having a career and job is important, we were never taught that that is all it is, a career. It is another part of life and not life itself. There is so much more to life than climbing up the ladder. It is in fact the little moments that make life better. Third, whatever you thought was cool back then is cringe now. Whatever you think is cool right now might be cringe later. This is including me running a podcast. I might not even do this a year later because I might find it to be cringe. So, wear an all-white gown, sit with a guitar and sing like Taylor Swift on the beach because no one really cares. When we restrict ourselves from others, we restrict our inner child as well. And believe me, the inner child needs to live so that we can be fully functioning adults. Number 4. Physical exercise is not that important right now. Education is more important. If you don't start taking care of your body now, everything is gonna hurt like shit in 20 years. I truly wish someone had told me this when I was in high school. I was never interested in any sports, but I truly wish I took up at least one back then. Of course, better late than never, but I always wish I had started a bit earlier. More than just being healthy, there is so much more to being part of a sport or any physical activity. I learned a lot of time management and self-discipline only through gym and exercise. I understood the importance of discipline only after I started working out. With discipline comes time management skills. If there is one thing I hate about myself, it is the way I react when others are late. I hate tardiness. I know it's more of a me problem, but I think it is a side effect of discipline. On top of physical health, it also contributes a lot towards our mental health. Again, living Nadamadum example. I was asked a few weeks before what I do when my husband annoys me. I told I'll go work out. Now, this is not a healthy way to deal with problems, I know. But I know enough to assess the situation and understand what problems are worth arguing over and what are not. But of course, working out won't cure your mental health issues. It will definitely help in reducing your stress and bringing down whatever agitated and elevated your feelings in the first place. Number 5. An unfair world is no excuse to make it worse. Or as Harry Styles says, treat people with kindness. I remember very little about myself from my high school. I also remember a very different version of myself from when I was in high school. My husband and I were high school classmates, and during our dating days, he told me that I was a snob. I was rude and seemed arrogant. Now seemed come under quotes. Here is the thing. I have a resting bitch face, and I'm also not the kind of person who would voluntarily talk with you. So a resting bitch face plus that will definitely make me a bitch. As far as I remember, I would have mocked people here and there, but I was definitely not rude. If any of my high school friends are listening here, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But I remember this very well. I hated to mock people based on their physical appearance. I was so strictly against it. Despite that, I accidentally mocked a guy and I instantly regretted it, even though he did not seem to care. I felt so bad that day. Even back then, I strived to be one of the nice ones, but I might also have been a bitch to a few. So, to all adults, be nice to people. Pay people on time and say a lot of sorries and a lot more thanks. And smiles. Does not cost a buck. Number 6. Just because you fucked up does not mean that you're a fuck up. This is something we need to ask teachers to preach in school. They treated us like our life was over when we failed. I think I understand where they are coming from, but I also think there is a way to portray it. You don't have to tell them that their life is over and they're done for. Some might challenge themselves and put in the double work, but a lot of them feel dejected. Honestly, their parents themselves do it for them. Teachers need not do it. So yeah, one trip and slip is not the end of life. Every day is a new day to do new things and to achieve bigger goals. So yes, just because you fucked up doesn't mean that you're a fuck up. Get up, brush off and keep running or climbing or lifting, whatever it is that makes you happy. And with that, we are coming to the end of this episode. I will let you sip on it and see you in the next one. Bye!